And I have a background in intelligence. I have a very
Mm,
strong grasp of geopolitics in general, but also sort of like the international politics of warfare and terrorism and Islam and the history of the US in the Middle East and Iran's history with America. And I know for a fact that Iran is and has been a very aggressive direct enemy of the United States since 1979. And there is a
interesting.
lot of events that you can sort of list along that. The most recent, some of the more recent stuff being that Iran is directly responsible for the deaths of thousands of Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan throughout the course
Mm,
of our involvement in those conflicts. My dad, one of my dad's best friends, he was in the Marine Corps as well, that he went to officer candidate school with, died in the Iranian-backed bombing of the Marine Corps barracks in Beirut in 1983. Like,
wow.
so this is just not just geopolitical. It's not just this struggle against these national peoples. It's also personal. And then furthermore, if a lot of people don't know the eschatology of Shia Muslims in Iran, the word eschatology can be confusing to a lot of folks. But
Yeah.
Shia Muslims in Iran have this belief in the end times that someone will appear who is known as the 12th Imam or the 12th Mahdi. Um, and he's sort of like their savior persona who's going to establish global peace in Islam and, just make everything good. But
Yeah.
his entrance will be ushered in by a period of chaos and war and destruction that that it's kind of like a tribulation. If you know the Christian concept of the tribulation, whether you're pro-trib or anti-trib or whatever, it doesn't matter.
So
The
that's conducive to making constant wars because you think you're going to
Yes,
be
and
ushering in
not,
the 12th Imam.
and not just constant wars, but like a cataclysmic nuclear apocalypse kind of war.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people will make these false equivalencies because people aren't able to think in categories. And they say, well, like, why is it, so bad for Iran, but North Korea has a nuke and Pakistan and blah, blah, blah. Listen, I don't want North Korea or Pakistan or China to have nukes or Russia.
Mm,
Frankly, I would rather it's just America. But while especially like China and North Korea and Pakistan, I don't want to have nukes, I can recognize that they're more or less rational actors. Okay, not sharing the very unique eschatology that Iran has, I can basically trust the normal human incentive to survive, which is
mhm.
what is sort of the underlying premise of mutually assured destruction that has existed since the beginning of the nuclear era, you know, towards the end and shortly after World War II. So,
Yeah.
um, if Kim Jong Un wants to live, and I believe he does, he will never launch nukes at the United States because we'll turn North Korea into a giant lava field and he will die. And he knows
Sure.
that. The people of Iran, and especially including the leadership of Iran, do not necessarily share that same sentiment. They may recognize that they could or very well would die, but they would die as martyrs to usher in the 12th Mahdi. And so
Mm,
there's two big points that need to be recognized here. Iran is an enemy of the United States. They hate the United States, and they're not a rational actor. So with nukes, they cannot be trusted with them, should not be trusted with them. And we can recognize that there is a greater risk of nuclear weapons being used against Americans or allies or interests from Iran than from any other nation, to the extent that it's worth American involvement to stop.